is Alan Bullard, and I'd like to talk to you about the Oxford Hymn Settings for Organists series. The last 2 books in the series have recently been published, and over all 9 volumes there are a total of roughly 350 pieces by a wide range of composers from both sides of the Atlantic. All the pieces were written specially for the books by composers ranging in age from 20-something to 80-something. If you are not a church organist, you may not have had much to do with the hymn setting or hymn prelude. This is a piece for use in a church service, a prelude, interlude or postlude, based in some way on a hymn tune that a congregation is likely to know and may indeed have sung that day. Almost every hymn tune has a special name, not necessarily the first line of the words, as often they can be sung to several texts, and it is these names by which organists identify them. For example, the hymn that we know as Just As I Am is usually set to the tune known as Saffron Walden. The concept of dressing up an existing melody for use during a church service goes back many centuries, and the chorale preludes or hymn tune preludes of Bach are perhaps the most well known. But he was certainly not the first, as earlier composers such as Sweelinck, Pachelbel and Buxtehude wrote many. The concept was revived in the 19th century by Brahms, Reger, Franck, Karg-Elert and others, and became even more widespread in the 20th century, spreading to other parts of Europe and the USA, with a very wide range of composers, many of whom were and are active church musicians. But the concept has always been the same: to present an existing hymn known to the congregation in a way that will shed new light on its character. The first 6 volumes of our series contained pieces based on hymns for specific times in the church year, like Christmas or Easter. The 7th was pieces suitable for communion services, and the last 2 contained a total of 80 pieces based on hymns for general use. The American organist Rebecca Groom de Velde was the co-editor for the whole series, and she worked with the British editors David Blackwell for the first 6 volumes, David Bednall for the 7th, and myself for the last 2. Although I was involved in nearly all the books as contributor, let me tell you particularly about these last 2 volumes where I was involved more closely. The role of Rebecca and I as editors was, firstly, to decide on a list of suitable hymns, with advice from a liturgical specialist, hymns which hadn't been already used in the earlier books, and then to decide on a range of composers to ask, what hymns we thought might suit them and which we could ask them to use. To do this, we split the list in half, and Rebecca took largely the United States composers, and I took largely the United Kingdom ones. 2 or 3 composers were of other nationalities. Naturally, this involved a certain amount of arm twisting, but we were very pleased that we were able to involve such a wide range of composers from many different backgrounds, and put younger developing composers alongside experienced composer and organists who are well-known figures in cathedral and church music. After that, our roles varied depending on the composer. Some, of course, needed no advice, except perhaps the occasional, "Did you really mean that, or was it a slip of the pen?" Whereas others needed some advice with shaping their exciting and imaginative ideas into something suitable for the skills of the average church organist. And then, of course, working with the publisher's editor to check the final proofs against the composer's copy, and also writing a few preludes ourselves. The results are 80 pieces, each with their own character and approach. In each prelude, the hymn tune on which it's based is there somewhere, but there are so many different ways in which the composers have presented it. The tune might be fragmented or hidden at the beginning, only appearing clearly at the end of the prelude. Or it might be stated proudly and clearly at the beginning, and then subjected to various variations. Or it can be played in the middle of the texture, perhaps by the left hand on a different manual or keyboard, so that it stands out. Or it might be played by the feet on the pedals. or several of these things. The tune might have its character changed by putting it in a different rhythm or meter, perhaps syncopated or dancing, or it might be decorated or ornamented. It might be treated as a fast-moving toccata or a ringing carillon, or as a slow and expressive meditation. It might be very contrapuntal, or it might rely on rich harmony and colour for its effects. It might deliberately borrow favourite textures from other composers as a backing to the hymn tune. Stylistically, it might feel jazzy, folky, contemporary, quirky, worship song-like, neo-romantic, neoclassical or neo-baroque, and of course all of these concepts can be coloured by the vast range of sounds obtainable on the church organ. There really is an excitingly wide range of textures and approaches. I am the third of the United Kingdom editors to be involved in this series, but on the United States side, Rebecca Tevelder has seen all 9 books through the press, a fantastic achievement which hasn't in any way dimmed her enthusiasm for the multitude of ways that the organ can be used in worship. For a time, Zoom calls between Oklahoma and East Anglia were a regular and delightful feature of our working week, and it has been a real honour and pleasure to work with Becky on these books and to help provide such a wide range of material for church organists near and far. You can find more details about the series in the accompanying notes.